What up? What up? Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. I know I did. I know the Grid community did. They celebrated the opening of the 2025 season down in Miami. We'll talk a little bit about that. But today's show, the Grid and Grind show, we have Jenn Powers. She is now the newest owner of the newest Grid League team, the New York Wolves. Not only is she an owner of a Grid League team, she's the creator and host of Back on Track, which you can see on @Watch RHS TV. She's an athlete, she's a coach, she's an event organizer, she's a DJ, and she can do it all. But like I said, she's adding ownership to the resume, and we're going to get her fitness journey. We're going to talk about the ownership of the newest team, the New York Wolves, and how that all came to be. We're going to talk about her plans for the team and what it might look like this time next year when the Wolves are in action. But before Jenn joins us, we got to plug the sponsors, the best sponsors in the game, the sponsors that allow us to do what we do best, the Mental Game Performance Coaching. If nerves, pressure, or overthinking are stilling your game day success, the Mental Game helps athletes turn practice into performance when it matters most. Beat the nerves, own the moment, and book your free session today at tmgperformancecoaching.com. Jesus One Apparel, taking men, women, and children, taking that bold step in their faith by living, embodying the message of John 16:33. Jesus won and continues to win each and every day. Head over to JesusOneApparel.com. Enter code IOTB15 to save 15% on any of your orders, but also a portion of the proceeds are going to fellow ministries across the country. So I highly recommend supporting those ministries, going on the website, ordering some shirts. They got plenty of colors. Any Grid League team, they got the colors for your team. So go check it out. Order something today. Old Dominic Distiller, experience 150 years of tradition in the heart of downtown Memphis. From bourbon to vodka, whiskey to gin, Old Dominic's got you covered. Stop in today for a tour or just to pick up your favorite bottle. And last but not least, and I gotta mention them, Chinook seeds, the best seeds in the game. 8 flavors, mild to wild. Go to your local gas station, convenience store, grocery store, pick up the blue bag. It is college baseball postseason. The regionals are upon us, and there's no better way to experience that than with a bag of the best sunflowers and seeds in the game, Chinook seeds. With that was a lot, but it's time to turn to the business at hand. Help me welcome onto the show the newest owner of the newest United Grid League team, Jenn Powers. Jenn, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. I am excited. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Obviously, we got a chance. If you were on the live stream, we saw you talk a little bit about getting into the mix. But that was kind of like just your experience in the moment of the weekend and what's kind of to transpire over the next months and weeks and days leading up to the start of next season. But I wanted to kind of get some background on you as a person. Obviously, we talked about the gamut of things that you're involved with, the jobs that you do, and now you're throwing in the ownership hat in that as well. But, I kind of want to get your fitness journey, your start. Like, how did you get into fitness? Because it seems like, looking on your socials, like it's a big part of who you are. So when we look at your journey, where does it start and how do you get to where you're at today?
Well, thank you so much. It's been a wild journey. It's been over a decade at least. Fitness has always been a part of my life, but there is, just like when life gets lifing, as we say, I creeped up to 325 pounds. I had autoimmune disease. Basically, I had a lot of struggles in my life, and I had to learn how to get back on track. That's where Back on Track gets from. But in regards to fitness, I used to play softball all throughout my high school years, blew my knee out, long story short, and, got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. I wound up eating a lot of my emotions, mind, body, and spirit. I was very unhealthy. It really just came down to me being in the ICU. They gave me medicine to break a blood clot, and I got out of there and I said, oh, I have to help my life. I needed to help the doctors help me. I went into a local store, a health food store, and I said, help me help the doctors. This is where I'm at. She says, "Hun, if you get in control of your gut, you're going to get control a lot of your problems." So it got me curious, and I started doing shots of apple cider vinegar and learning about the alkalization of our body. Where fitness came into play was about 75 pounds down from where I was at. I went back to my rheumatologist and said, "Dr. Addy, I'm still tired. I can't beat this fatigue. My numbers were getting better." But she told me, "Go to a gym." I'm like, "I don't think you understand me." I said, "Lost it." So 5 minutes on the treadmill became 6. 6 became 7. To fast forward, I had to find a local gym, and that local gym brought me to CrossFit. I was exposed there, and I was hooked ever since. And fitness has given me a life beyond my wildest dreams. And all those lists on your resume, a lot of it is because I made that one decision to change my life.
Yeah, and that's how do you? Is it a matter? Is it as easy as I'm going to die, or I need to change, or was it, all right, I know I need to make some tweaks in my lifestyle. Let me start small, or were you just, I'm all in, let me make the biggest change in the biggest way possible? It's almost like if you have an addiction to something, like cold turkey, just stopping it and never doing it again. For you, was it a small incremental steps, or was it, nope, I'm all in and I'm stopping and I'm changing it today?
Yeah, I'd have to say ICU was the pinnacle for me, and it was the fear of death, obviously. But you just get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you got to try something different. You have to try everything you can. So it was up to me at that point. If I didn't make that decision, the fitness journey couldn't happen. I had to make that, okay, I'm going to try today. So keep it in the day, and then tomorrow, let's see. But after 7 days, well, oh wait, I don't need my Rolaids this week. And those little increments got you through to the next week. So did I say, oh, wow, I have 170 pounds to lose? No, I never looked at it as pounds. I just wanted to get a quality of life out of my nightgown into living again, because, life completely stopped for me. And that's not who I am. I'm intense. I deliver and, and I make things happen. And I had to do that for myself. So what I've done throughout the course over 10 years is really what Wolfpack on Track really is. I'm a product of everybody, including Grid League, that put their effort into making this awareness about how important sport, fitness, mind, body, and spirit collectively. So
it's amazing when you seek to, like, foods, for instance, for comfort, support, and just that fallback. You don't realize it in the moment because you have this temporary feeling of satisfaction when you do those things. But over time, you start seeing, well, maybe I look different, or you feel different. But then you have this big awakening being in a hospital, and you're like, all right, I've got to make a change. But I say all that to say, like, when you make this drastic change, you almost have to, like, contribute the ability to be so focused on being a new version of you. You have to contribute that to the old person that was able to be so addicted to those things, because now the addiction is more of a positive nature. Like, I'm so, like, in tune to the fitness industry, the fitness culture, me, how I feel, getting others and helping people, is when you talk about, back on track, is that the whole reason that you started it, was to share your story, or to help others, or a combination of both of those things?
I would say it's a combination, and it was an organic approach of basically trying to find the others that also are, having challenges of trying to get back on track. The reason why it ultimately started was because almost 2 years, actually June will be 2 years, I had a brand new knee put in. So getting that on top of that fear of losing that wonderful life and community that I've found over the course of the years, was I had to apply what I learned about the weight loss into the knee. So you do have a lot of, like, different opinions. Oh, okay, this is the end of your weightlifting career. I'm a master Olympic weightlifter. This is the end of this. And that fear, I learned to turn that into something well, I'm going to try because I learned myself this way and I'm going to try it again. I'm going to get this wolf back on track. I'm going to find people, build this community and multifaceted, diverse between mind, body, and spirit. I'm going to inspire them. And that's how it actually started, because it's really important that we help get this message out to other people, because I was that other person that felt that it's over. You know what I mean? I know, you know, and to just instill that hope just is a light in itself, that it's a success, that it helps me stay on track.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it's, I get it. When you have the idea for Back on Track now, is this something where you take these small steps and you're like, all right, I have a small community, or is this something like you pitch to, you know, watch RHS TV? Like, is that something where you're going to them saying, I have this idea, and they buy into it? Or is it something where what it is now wasn't what it started off being?
And it was actually, it was by mistake, believe it or not. I called this company, RHS TV. I said, listen, I need 4 cameras because I'm the DJ. I know what equipment I need. And now that I'm down here in Florida, if it was in New York, I'd go to I DJ Now, I'd go there and I get what I need. But I called for these 4 cameras and they said, no, we don't do that. But your story, I gave a real bumper sticker version of my story. And they said, can you come in? And then the next thing you know, I have, 3 seasons, and because of the DJing, it translated well, listening to production, and it just took off. So organically it grew, beautifully. It's just amazing how it all's in sync together.
That's crazy. So you mentioned CrossFit. Are you still CrossFitting? You got a new knee, still CrossFitting? Nice.
Yes, I'm a Master Olympic weightlifter. I just qualified for Worlds up in September. I'm doing it, where I'm probably not at the old rate of where I'm at, but you know what? I learned the value. Touching that barbell is a gift. And that's what I think every athlete that moves energy, that's an athlete as far as I'm concerned. You have a gift to touch that barbell. And what you do with it is in your hands. And is it going to go every way every time? No, it didn't happen the last time at Pan Ams, but I qualified, I'm going, and then you just learn it. It's not what happens to you. It's what you do with it. So I'm very privileged to hold that barbell.
I think too, and I realize this as I get older, and not that I'm slowing down, but like I realize I'm not the same athlete that I used to be, but I also know like it's not about that. It's about the inspiration that people get from seeing someone do that. And you competing in weightlifting might be another way of inspiring someone to change their fitness or change their journey. And really, if you really want to get down into the weeds of it, like you're saving people's lives, and that's what matters. And I think that's the bigger, goal here is, all right, we're wanting to change people and create this fitness culture. Okay, great. But it's important to me to like share the message and inspire people. And maybe it doesn't change their complete life, but maybe it helps get them off medication. Maybe it helps them educate them on what foods to eat. Maybe it just says, I need to get out and walk more. Like whatever it is, as long as it's in that nature, I think, you should be proud of what you do and what you've accomplished, because you are an inspiration to a lot of people.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about grid, let's start with this. Like, how do you find grid? Is it just through the fitness community and there's just an overlapping of it? Or do you go seeking different things and you come across grid and you're like, what is this?
Yeah. Well, actually, is actually at a CrossFit box. A friend of mine was a referee there, and she asked if I was, wanted to go to a competition and help referee. I'm like, yeah, sure. I walked in, my life was changed immediately. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. The energy, the move, like it's incredible. I think the first time I ever refereed, I think it was Taylor. I was doing the ladder, and it was right before my new knee too. I'm just like trying to get down there, and that's how I got exposed into it. And that was because of CrossFit, of just helping out, and that had always stayed. And I was a fan ever since Florida Grid League.
Now, okay, so when was that? A couple years ago, a year ago, 3?
I would say that was 3 years ago.
All right. So 3 years ago, you see this for the first time and you're like, oh my God, like this is unbelievable. At that point in time, if you go back, are you thinking, I'm going to own one of these teams one day?
No, I would never have guessed. If he would have paid me $1 million, and that would not have been on my radar.
All right. So then how does that become a reality for you? How does being, first time at a grid league event, helping out, refereeing to now I have the opportunity to own a team. How does that work?
Okay, so basically what had happened was I, having the show, asked one of my friends, Rebecca Rouse, and I said, "Listen, will you be on my show? Be my first guest on my show?" And she had told me she was actually, "I'm going to be in the area because it's in St. Pete. I'm going to be in the area around that time. Have you ever heard of the Florida Grid League?" I went, "Yes." So in sync, it's kind of like was born into that. So she was on my show and we supported each other. And I came and I visited and I did some of my first field interviews that weekend when I recorded the show. So that brought us into that, and then really made me look at, seeing everybody again and the organization and see how many things we have in alignment in our mission and our vision. That's where it started. Like, wow, this is, I got chills right now. I'm like, this could be a really good thing because we are in alignment. And that started the whole process.
Yeah. I mean, Rebecca, I work with the Tampa Bay Brigade. I'm in Tampa. So, watching her and getting to know her over, the past couple months has been great. I will say this about Rebecca. I don't know anybody that sleeps better than she does. She is the greatest sleeper on planet Earth. And I part of it is very intentional. She makes it a point, and like she's developed this routine, and now is what she enjoys. I mean, she says like she hasn't been sick. She feels better. She wakes up recovered, rested, and not tired at all. And I just think to myself, damn, these kids I got just sucking the life out of me. No, I love them, but that sleep thing is tough. Is one of the things that I think is overlooked on my part, and it shouldn't be. But hey, I taking small steps. I'll get better. So
we share that same sentiment, and I am living proof because I've been in the same household as her. She is dead serious about that sleep, and she's on me too. So don't.
I mean, I had her on the show, and I think we talked in great detail during the show, but then again offline about like I really need to get my shit together. Like I got to start sleeping better. Like she had convinced me like I was going to die 25 years earlier if I didn't sleep better, but I say all that to just say the community that Grid has and people like Rebecca and just the athletes, the coaches, the owners, just from top to bottom, just the organization is in such a growth mode and such a good mode. Everybody that I've come in contact with has been great. They're always promoting it and wanting it to be better. And this is an example of Rebecca wanting to promote the growth and continuing the success that Grid has by offering you and talking to you about that type of opportunity. So
right.
When do you pull the trigger and you go, I'm doing it? Or was there even like a whole lot of thought into like, do I get into this? Do I not? Like, or were you like, no, I think I'm going to do it?
It was actually a quick decision, but it was because what happened was Grid 6, right? Grid 6, I wound up getting 2 teams for that event, and Wolf, won the championship. But it was after the event, seeing everybody, like both teams, because it was 2 teams that that I sponsored. They just all came together and said, "You got to have a team." Like it was just almost like they all collectively said, "You should do this more often." And that was the aha moment. And I really objectively looking at it saying, yeah, they're right. And I said, you know what? I will. And then I went into the, researching it. And I made that decision, I would say fairly quick. Talked to my partner and we went all in.
Nice.
And what I wanted to say one thing is what I saw this weekend was when the one team was not finishing and, they didn't meet the threshold. the other team, the opponent team, came over and rooted for them. That's the type of people that I want to be part of. That's the athleticism that I think people need to see, is that support for each other. Yeah. Well, of course, healthy competition is good. But seeing that, I looked over at Mather, I said, that gave me, chills up and down my spine, and makes me even more proud that I'm going to be an owner in this ecosystem.
You see, the shark, what you're referring to is the Sharks in the Wild, and the Sharks had won the race, and Blake Kidder, very intense, very competitive. Like he gets after it, but he completes it. They win. He's the first guy that's over there trying to pump up Matt Cable to finish that lift. And like that, I've talked about his leadership, and he's won a championship, and what that brings, like that bleeds into everybody else wanting to be like that and do that. And that's how that community aspect spreads. And, that's a very good thing for the sport to have that type of, competitive nature during the match. But when it comes to wanting others to succeed, there's a great deal of them that do want everybody to do well and be the best that they can be. And, Matt, appreciated that, you could tell, and might have needed a little extra encouragement, because that bar at the end's not light. 315 for three is tough.
It's incredible.
But that's one of many, I think, examples that you see in the fitness community that maybe, other people on the outside don't really see, is that community piece. And I think that's what CrossFit made its name on, was the community. And hopefully they continue to go back to that and build that community, because it's an awesome feeling to have that and know that that's what you're a part of. And when you go, I'm all in on ownership, like what's the next step? You are now the owner. Do you get to create the team name? Do you get to create where they're located? Do you get to create colors? Like,
yes,
to me, like that's the fun stuff. It's like, all right, well, let's get into all the cool bells and whistles here. So how do you decide New York? How do you decide Wolves? I mean, I think I have a pretty good idea why it's Wolves, but how do you decide on colors? How does all that come to be?
Yeah, thank you. So basically, New York was picked because I'm from New York. I'm sure you can hear the accent. It's pretty thick. So there's an essence of coming home, is a redemption to many things in my life that we could go on a whole nother show for. Yeah. But that part, yes, and then just growing it in the sense of the Northeast needs, as we're going united. I mean, of course, the Northeast. But in regards to colors and what I'm picking, obviously the wolf because of, the wolf. But the colors, what I actually did was I looked at everybody collectively, and I wanted to be in unison with. And that's how I picked the colors that of all the teams. And the logo and design behind that, very, very important with me, is a big time in my life was 9/11. And of course, all the service workers, everybody collectively, was a major time in New York. That is the reason why I picked the logo the way it's designed. And it has the New York State, because it's all, I have upstate CrossFit boxes I belong to. I have Long Island. I have all over. So I'm excited to bring it to New York. It's been an overwhelming response as well.
Yeah. And, I've talked to Paul Bear, the owner of Las Vegas team, and making the decision to leave Daytona and go to Vegas, we talked about, the positive, like just getting foothold out west is huge. You're opening up the sport and the product to more eyes. And he's got a few players from the Vegas area that are on the team, which that's going to help generate traffic and more people and eyes to the product, which is the ultimate goal here. And now moving, the same thing with Houston and the Texas market, like that's a huge area to pull athletes from. And now in the Northeast, you're doing the same thing, because I mean, you're as far north as you got from basically New York to Atlanta, like that's the closest, like in that, on that eastern side. But you have all of the Northeast to pull from, but also you have really the way and what makes this sport so unique is you can pull from all over the country, all over the world if you want to. You don't have to be in person for practice, even though it helps, but you just got to be there on game day and match day. And that's kind of the uniqueness. And that's what I love about this sport, is because you don't have that in typical professional sports. Usually you're like, well, if I'm on this team, I've got to set up residency. I got to be at all the practices. I got to be at all the matches. And we got to do this like that. But this is like out of the box thinking, and it works. And I enjoy it for that reason. But looking at the to-do list, do you have a long to-do list, or is it like, I'm going to break this thing down? But what is that to-do list? Is it insurmountable right now?
Well, it's definitely a list, and I have scope and timelines in myself that I want to meet on thresholds. But right now is the stage of gathering, right? So we made that awareness out there, and I have been getting a lot of emails and a lot of interest between athletes to be part of administration, coaching. So there's 3 different areas I'm getting a lot of inquiries on, in addition to an overall excitement. They just are so excited that New York is going to have a team. So sifting through that, onboarding everybody, and then having open tryouts. Like the next stage would be gathering, meeting each person, and having basically open clinics to get recruitment.
So let's get some insight here. All right. What's the first thing on the to-do list? What is the most pressing thing that you're like, I've got to do this, and this has to be done first?
Well, for me, number one is we got that word out and talking to each person. But in the sense of business administration, it's getting the media, the marketing, all that set up with their pages, websites. What the good news is, I have built a lot of this as a template with Wolf Back on Track. It'll be easily adaptable into this process. But then thereafter that, it's, the ongoing administration of it. And I plan on running this like a, well-oiled machine, and be able to be adaptable and grow as well.
Yeah, I think you have to. It's I'm a believer in, if you want it to look and feel and be professional, then you have to treat it as such. And having those things in place matter. When it comes to challenges, what are you anticipating some of the challenges to be?
Well, at this point, I feel that a lot of the elements, taking a lot of the elements from what is the standards, and having a micro competitions to see what people have. And then also not only just what they can do personally, how they approach, why they want to be on the team, the grit that they have and what it means to them is just as important as if you could lift a 315 snatch. I know we have versatile players and each person contributes, but the most important thing for me really is their desire, to hear their story and, what hope they can bring to the next person. It's not just about, the overall. So that's the game plan.
It's definitely a lot, but I think, it's manageable. You break it down, you give yourself timelines, you kind of prioritize what you need. And the hardest part is already done.
Yeah.
You've been announced, you're a team. Like now it's like, all right, well, let me move on to the next thing. You mentioned coaches and players and a plan. What is the plan for a coach? Do you have someone in mind? Or is it like I've always wondered this, is it an open application process to be the coach of the newest team? Or is it, I have someone in mind who's perfect, we've talked about it, it's just whenever the time's right, we're going to bring them on?
Yeah, I have actually a few people that are interested. I do have somebody in mind, and I just really I'm the type of person that I'd like to listen to everything before I make a decision and weigh out. But that's important to me because it's also in the sense of the person needs to be really well versed as well in fitness and being able to work in a fast-paced environment. One of the things that I've seen this weekend, fast-paced environment, quick changes, quick thinking, counting, all these things are a prerequisite for somebody who wants to coach. And obviously, you know, the great news is that, you know, there's a lot of mentors. I know, like I said, a lot of coaches have voluntarily says, whatever you need help with, we want to help you grow too. So that's pretty amazing. Very great.
It's just another, you know, just opening up that community part that we talked about. Everyone has always been willing to help and you know, give feedback and you know, everybody, like I said, everyone I've come in contact with has always been super supportive, super nice, and extremely helpful with questions or feedback or anything. So I would expect nothing but the same, you know, in regards to what you're trying to do, because having another team is important. It's key. And you know, looking at now there being 9 teams, I'm not a math whiz by any you know, standard, but I will say 9 isn't an even number, and you almost need an even number. So to me, I'm thinking, well, maybe there's another team coming. Um, do you want to be the only new coach, or you're okay with having a 10th team roll in here and go, all right, now I got 2 people doing it. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I believe, I mean, obviously, I believe we all rise together. I wouldn't mind at all. I would welcome that, because I'm with you. 9 is, yeah, you need to have 10. 10 was my softball number too, let's just say.
I just, you know, for conference sake, it just makes things a little bit easier when you have a balance. Scheduling is a little bit easier. You don't have anybody not playing someone, and it's just, I don't know. To me, it just, I need that even number. I need it to be simple in my head. But obviously, you attended the opening weekend in Miami. Tell me about your experience there. Were you working, volunteering? Were you did you have things going on with Back on Track? Like, what was the whole, you know, weekend for you in a nutshell?
Well, absolutely. I was helping out, and also we made the announcement on with Cassie, but also too, had the pleasure of learning the board, and that was really good for me, because I'm the type of person is trial by fire, right?
Yep.
And not only is that informative, and it helps you understand the speed and why it needs to be so fast. Doing that, I was able to see every single person working towards in unison to have this whole match, each match, all throughout the day go. And it's beyond impressive what they did with that, in that sense of organization, execution. That's like a match in itself. Like, for everyone putting it together, it's like, okay, just even seeing the referees, they all talk to each other, everyone putting that together. So it was pretty wild and fast, fast-pacing environment to be into that. I'm very grateful I did it.
Yeah, it's I haven't witnessed it live. I will be there in Tampa, and that'll be my first experience of live competition. I've only seen live streams and stuff, and like that's I get pumped up for that, but I have a feeling it's going to be a very different level on the grid and watching it live. So I'm looking forward to that. For you, like, are you taking anything away from the coaches, from the owners, from the players, and just like from a competition standpoint, that you're like, I'm definitely going to make that a part of the Wolves? Like, we're definitely doing those things.
Yes. Well, number one, just you mentioned Paul before. I just, because he was on the Grid 6 team, I had that liberty of seeing him lead in the sense of coaching with Grid 6, and I would love to emulate how, effective he is, and his way that he can explain something really quick on the fly, be calm enough, and help you execute it and support you on there, and knowing where you need to stand, knowing where you need to go, to literally explain that. That's what I would love to adopt and emulate, to give that sense of clarity and like, go. Like, that's amazing. But every coach, not every single coach emulates that. I also like the professionalism of it, of, the coaches in their suits. That's very impressive to me. And I'd like to emulate that as well. So it's a respect for your team. It's a respect for the sport, and a respect for the league.
Oh man. So I've this is funny. All right. You mentioned the coaches and their suits. I have this thing and I don't know why, but I always thought to myself, okay, like, and maybe it's just the baseball in me, like baseball coaches are wearing uniforms because of they're just being in uniform with the rest of the players. But I always thought to myself, you see like college basketball coaches and pro basketball coaches wearing these suits and they're jumping up and down, they're screaming, they're yelling, there's so much in motion, like they're taking their jacket off, they're drenched in sweat. It's like, why don't you make your life easier and wear like a brand, like something branded, but like not as like suity, like
Yeah.
because to me it's like I would not be comfortable. You look great on the sideline. Shout out to Matt Hornaday, Matt Evans, like you guys look great, but I know you're hot. And I know there's air conditioning in these venues, but I know you're hot. But yeah, like to me, get you a nice little polo, get you a nice little, look like you're going out to play 18. I don't know, like,
Yeah, I understand that. I mean,
or even better, like the old school basketball suits that tear away the buttons. Just get one
yeah,
of those.
that I like that.
You
I like.
know,
But I mean, let's talk about hot. Let's talk about suit and hot. Doing a show with like 33 lights above
oh,
me for I did 3 shows a day for a while. That was like the hot box. I was in my own sauna.
I mean, you're melting, and then you wonder like why you have to like when you're in front of all those cameras and lights, like why it's important to have some foundational makeup on because like it helps prevent you from looking like a mess because it's hot. Um, I have a little ring light that I use, when I'm recording at night, and I need a little bit better lighting because, as I get older, I need those features and those filters built in so that I can look a little bit better. But like even that thing is hot and it's
Yeah.
it's not nothing near what you have on a TV production set. So but yeah, there's a lot that I'm looking forward to with the Wolves. I know that you're excited, you're pumped, you're ready to get after it. But I'll say this, let's fast forward to the end of 2026. It's the end of your first season. What's the vision? What are you hoping to accomplish in that first season?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think throughout the first season is to be able to come out of the gate, as effective as I can, to be as
Yeah.
prepared as I can. It would be great to see you win. But no matter what, when no matter what, you take what you learn and you apply it for the next season. No matter what, like I said in the beginning, it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it.
Yeah.
Every opportunity is a chance to learn and grow. And that's the way I approach things at life because I fell down many times in life. I got back up. And that's the way I approach it going forward. And that's how I see at the end. I see success.
Absolutely. Well, I think you have the plan, you have the mindset. I think you're ready to go. I'm looking forward to, I say this like 2 months ago, I was like, can the season just be here? And now I'm catching myself going, man, can 2026 just be here so we can see? Like, I got to be where my feet are, Jen. I got to be where my feet are and just like, let's focus on today. But yeah, you guys, I think you're in there. The team and the organization is going to be in good hands. Like you're a great person. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. Before you get out of here, anything you want to plug or promote or anything that you can do to, if players or coaches or anybody interested wanting to be a part of the Wolves organization, what can they do?
All right. Well, they can find me at signup@wolfbackontrack.com. Send an email. We are right now in the gathering stage, and then we'll be in contact with you with the next steps.
Okay.
You reach out also on, any type of social media. Just reach out. You find me. My Instagram handle's down below, but also get in contact with the grid. And if you can't get in contact with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jen, I appreciate the time. We wish you the best of luck. Obviously, I'd like to bring you back on and, once you're in the middle of this planning and like just to kind of get an update, see where you are. But if there's anything we can do for you along the way, reach out.
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm going to take that today. I'm going to keep where my feet are, and just, I
There
like
you
that.
go. Be where your feet are. That's all that matters. Well, that's Jenn Powers, everybody, the owner of the newest Grid League team, the New York Wolves. If you like hearing Jenn's story, or you just like hearing Average Joe's talk X's and O's, please like, share the podcast on Facebook. Head over to YouTube, click like, subscribe, notifications. That way you're first to know when new content is being dropped. It's a big week for me. It's not a lot of content. I've worked really hard, so I've got a vacation coming up, so I'm going to be away for until next week. The following week we're going to have, hopefully, Nicole Hunt from the Palms join us. We're going to be talking about week 2 in Tampa, June 14th. That's Father's Day weekend for those fathers out there. Go celebrate it with some Grid League action. But we're going to talk about power rankings and all those things that come to mind, and we're going to break down the Ascent match format for week 2. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be on the socials. Y'all see me. But until next week, this has been the Grit and Grind show, brought to you by the Mental Game Performance Coaching. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We are out.